Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gash, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jaja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulonding. We are also producers of Jaja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gash, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gash Group also provides the best security company, Gash Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gash Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gash on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gash Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.gashglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding.
Good evening, this is Star TV News. I am your news presenter, Meminaju Fadera. With this evening news, in the headlines tonight, GID widens scope of probe in Gunjur seaside post assault. Newsroom discuss curriculum reforms as part of Golden Jubilee. Former Bruford Alcalo dies age 100. 189 elevated security personnel decorated. Help Gambia partners with BAC orders to wage police ungarbaged. In other news, Benin vote count begins after opposition groups boycott elections. Polls close in controversial Chad election. Protests erupt in Minneapolis after police shoot black man. Well, those were the headlines. So now the news in detail. The Gambia Immigration Department, GID, says it's widening the scope of its investigation into the recent assault on its post in Gunjur. The GID spokesperson, Chief Superintendent Mamadi Diba, told Star TV that the Immigration Department is seriously working with sister service to apprehend the attackers. Modu Elbaji with more in this report.
According to the immigration spokesperson, 39 people have so far been rounded up in its hunt for the suspects. He explained that 18 out of the 39 arrested were persons of interest to the investigation, adding that one of them was found to be involved and could soon appear before the court. Meanwhile, the Gunjur immigration post was attacked in the early hours of Friday by men reportedly armed with hunting guns, cutlasses, knives, canes and other weapons. The assault came barely 72 hours after the inauguration of the seaside post on April 6th. One of the men on duty was critically injured, while 2 others, including a fire officer, sustained some injuries. The construction of the Gunjur post is part of the Gambia government's clampdown on irregular migration and trafficking in persons. This attack was the first of its kind against the immigration. Though the motive of the assault remains a mystery, the immigration says it is treating it as another learning curve. Chief Superintendent Mamandin Diba explains further.
Preliminary investigations so far from witness accounts revealed that the men on duty were surprisingly surrounded in the station. One of them was able to fight his way out to call for help. By the time help arrived, those are the attackers, took to their heels.
Piero Diba revealed that the officer who was critically injured in the assault was receiving medical attention at the Birkama Health Center. For Star TV, I am Modu Elbaji.
As part of events marking Nusrat 50 years of academic excellence, a panel discussion, Team Curriculum Reforms as Pathway to Quality Education in the Gambia was last Friday held at the school. Our signing of our new staff was listening.
The design of the curriculum to make it more responsive and relevant was an issue of passionate discussions at Newsroom Senior Secondary School in Bundunkakunda. The event provided a platform for discussion around the need to custom build the curriculum to make it more effective, as well as justification for this. A seasoned curriculum developer, Dr. Brahma Jambe, was the lead panelist, and according to him, building a curriculum requires consultations as it cannot be developed in isolation. On justification for curriculum reform in relation to basic education, Dr. Jambe said,
embark on curriculum reform. I will look at it from two angles. The basic education on one side and senior secondary on another side. Now, justification for the reform of basic education curricula include: one, the system transformation without the corresponding curriculum reform at the time to match the new vision of basic education. So basic education was not defined in terms of curriculum. What I meant here...
He emphasized the need for curriculum reforms every 10 years, quoting Article 1 of the World Education Declaration for All and the framework to meet the basic learning needs, the lead panelist stated.
Child, youth, and adult shall be able to benefit from educational opportunities designed to meet their basic learning needs. These needs comprise both essential learning tools such as literacy, oral expression, numeracy, and problem solving, and the basic learning content such as knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes required by human beings to be able to survive, to develop their full capacities, to live and work in dignity, to participate fully in development, to improve the quality of their lives, to make informed decisions, and to continue learning. The scope of basic learning needs and how they should be met varies with individual countries and cultures, and inevitably changes with the passage of time.
Dr. Jambe pointed out that there are currently more academic-oriented courses in Gambian schools as opposed to skill-based education. He said the scope of the curriculum should be broadened and emphasized the need for critical thinking and adequate financing of education sector. This, he continued, would make the sector more responsive to the development needs of the country. Meanwhile, the Sierra Leonean High Commissioner to the Gambia, Her Excellency Ruklisha Sharif, said there's urgency for radical departure from heavy dependence on book to practical skills.
By the curriculum, and that is just what our Minister of Education has started doing. When you get to basic education, first of all, you have to have the infrastructures. If you want pupils or men and women to go and do technical or vocational subjects and so on.
The diplomat emphasized the need for the provision of the right infrastructure in order to impart skill-based education to students.
That when they get to GSS 3, they take their basic exam, they go into these places and learn. Who wants to learn this? You want to go and do auto mechanics. You want to do electricity. You want to do a house, you want to build a house, and so on and so forth. You go there and learn that skill, and you are out. When you are out, you will get the jobs necessary to earn you a decent salary.
The event was attended by the Minister of Information, Ibrahim Asila, veteran legislator, Sidia Jata, Venerable Amir of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat in the Gambia, Baba F. Trawale, among other high-profile personalities. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Awasani.
189 personnel from the various security services were last Thursday decorated following their elevation to various ranks. 124 have been promoted to the rank of Lance Corporal, 25 Sergeant, 1 to Staff Sergeant, and 39 to Corporal. The decoration was done in a ceremony held at the State House in Banjul. Our Sani was there.
In addressing the decorated men and women, the commander of National Territorial Guards, Brigadier Turo Jaune, said promotion is a recognition and celebration of achievement. According to Brigadier Jaune, elevation in service constitutes an important development for the elevated, as various preconditions for promotion have to be met in order for it to take place. Making a reference to the promoted non-commissioned officers of the military, the Territorial Guards commander acknowledged that they stood out based on internationally recognized assessment process.
Distinguish themselves by successfully going through this process in line with international best practices and also guided by the Gambia Armed Forces Terms and Conditions of Service TACUS 1993 for soldiers. Promotions are supposed to be normal occurrences in every growing and transforming organization, including the Gambia Armed Forces. However, I wish to emphasize that today, in as much as promotion in the armed forces would be in accordance with the available vacancies in the Gambia Armed Forces, they would strictly conform to several laid-down procedures, standard, and the TACUS.
Promotion in the military, Brigadier Jaune underscored, is not limited to a routine exercise, but that it's a deliberate undertaking by the leadership to ensure outstanding service and standards are celebrated and recognized. He advised the promoted men and women to uphold the principle of loyalty to the government and the people of the Gambia, saying their unique service to the nation is worthy of commendation. The commander of State Guards, Senjai, said promotion in the security service is a privilege too. Among other issues, recognize hard work, dedication to duty and discipline.
You that promotion in the military is a privilege meant to recognize hard work, dedication to duty, discipline, and sacrifice. As a cherished and rich military tradition, a decoration ceremony is performed to decorate newly promoted personnel with their new ranks. Furthermore, it is organized to celebrate achievements, honor the recipient, encourage and motivate others to excel, and perpetuate our values of service before self and excellence in all we do.
He went on to point out that the promotions were transparent and in conformity with best practices.
This promotion followed a transparent process and military best practice, in that it was preceded with the convening of a promotion board. The board, which comprised of trusted and reliable officers and other ranks, was tasked to identify those soldiers who deserve to be promoted, using mainly the principle of meritocracy. These soldiers before us to be decorated today were therefore carefully selected and indeed deserve their new ranks. Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, with this large number of soldiers promoted at the same time and other welfare packages lined up for soldiers, there is no iota of doubt that personnel of State Guards Battalion are well led and well motivated.
General Njai admonished the military to remain out of politics and continue executing their noble duties as enshrined in the Constitution. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Awasani.
As part of its community intervention, Help Gambia last Saturday launched a battle against garbage at the busy Birkama market. Maria Madam has the rest of the detail.
The cleansing exercise was in fulfillment of the goal of building resilience that the registered NGO set for itself. Help Gambia seeks to reduce household risks and vulnerabilities such as environmental pollution and climate change hazards in the country. Cognizant of the limitations of the government in providing basic services, the NGO has embraced a multi-stakeholder approach to development through the stimulation of positive attitudes, especially in the promotion and maintenance of clean and healthy environment. And on Saturday, it partnered with the Brikama Area Council and other like-minded entities to conduct an exercise codenamed Trust Free Brikama. The cleansing exercise saw about 500 volunteers wage a blaze on rubbish in the streets of Brikama and the main market of the regional capital. The National Project Coordinator of Help Gambia, Dauda Cham, explained that the organization deemed it significant and relevant to replicate the exercise in other administrative regions of the country, following a successful one in the Kanifing municipality recently.
Exactly what we are doing this morning. We want to ensure that our cities are clean, not just Brikama, but the entire country. And one way of doing this is by cleaning the environment. But another important aspect, which will be our focus from this project, is to sensitize the public. Because over the past years, what we've experienced is whenever we organize cleansing exercises, just an hour or two after the exercise, if you go back to that particular environment, you find out that the place is dirty again. So it's not just about cleaning, but I think it's about the mindset now that we need to talk to people that the environments that they are going to be cleaning is actually those are the environments that they live in. And once that environment is not clean, then that is detrimental to their health. So
Bakari Jadama is the Environmental Health and Sanitation Manager at the Brikama Area Council.
That when we partner with these people, we will also going to achieve a lot through having a sanitized environment. Like you can see, a lot of people have converged here. Some groups are already gone to the market area to do similar thing that we are doing here. Because environmental sanitation is our core mandate, and as a council, we ensure that we extend services to everyone, everywhere within our area of jurisdiction.
Mr. Jadama stated that despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, Trust Free Brikama is deliverable, as he urged others to follow suit. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
Tributes have started pouring in for the centenarian former Alcalde of Brufut following his demise. Alhaji Yunus Asano, aged 100, passed away peacefully on Monday. He became the Alcalde of Brufut following the death of his brother Khalifa Sano, but was subsequently replaced. Mourners this evening trudged his Brufut home to pay their last respects. Alhaji Yunus Asano was among the respected elders of the country that President Adama Barrow adopted as father. Those were the local stories. We'll be back with the international news after the short break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh, producers of the finest tomato paste in the Gambia. Jeja tomato paste, available in 5 kilos, 1 kilo and in sachets. For wholesale and retail, visit our factory at Banjulunding. We are also producers of Jeja mineral water, cool, clear and fresh. Gosh, Gambia, Angola, China Holding, with headquarters at Fatu Golden Plaza, Mile 7, Bertel Harding Highway. Gosh Group also provides the best security company, Gosh Security, for your offices, warehouses, homes and personal property. Gosh Group for all your construction projects, offering you quality water reticulation for your gardens, pump irrigation, tidal irrigation projects and all types of buildings. You can contact Gosh on 396-7894, 700-8993, 373-0259. Visit us at Gosh Global Group on Battle Harden Highway, Fatu Golden Plaza. Our website www.goshglobal.com. Gambia, Angola, China Holding, Gosh.
Welcome back. We now look at the news beyond our borders. Counting is underway in Benin's presidential election. Incumbent President Patrice Talon is being challenged by 2 candidates, but voter turnout is low, and even though the president is predicted to win a second term, nobody expected him to be on the ballot. Few expect this vote to go into a second round, which means President Talon will likely secure a second 5-year mandate that could strengthen his grip on power. Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris reports from Benin's largest city, Cotonou.
When Patrice Talon became Benin's leader in 2016, he said he would remain in office only for 1 term. But 5 years later, here he is, voting for his second presidential term. After he voted, Talon dismissed the recent protests that broke out in parts of the country.
Security forces dealt with the problem with tact. The troublemakers were young men and were unfortunately objects of manipulation. Our security forces overcame the situation calmly. By this time tomorrow, the healing process begins, and we'll make sure such a situation never arises again.
Ahead of Sunday's vote, security forces were deployed in large numbers to maintain order. Nearly 5 million people have registered to vote in the election. In 2019, less than a quarter of the voting population participated in the parliamentary election that was won by the governing party.
In many polling stations like this, only a handful of voters stand up to cast their ballots. Others have stayed away because of concerns about recent attacks. Now, election officials admit that the protests have disrupted the supply of election materials in the mainly opposition stronghold of the north.
A weakened opposition has accused the government of harassing and intimidating its supporters. One of the candidates threatened to pull out of the race 2 days before the election, citing continuing harassment and intimidation of the opposition by the government.
It is interesting for all the parties taking part in this election that the participation rate exceeds at least 70%. Elections are held so that citizens can choose. To choose means to vote. To vote means to choose who is entrusted with the future of this country for the next 5 years. I hope that victory will be on our side, because it is a sanctioned vote that I invite.
With the economy slowing down, many voters have high expectations of whoever wins.
I want to see the elected president provide jobs and improve security. As it is, it's too dangerous to go out at night.
Tension is still high in some parts of Benin, and election observers are calling for calm.
Our urge to all of them, appeal, is to continue the engagement, continue to ensure that the playing field is level, continue to give opportunity to everybody to participate.
Results are expected within 48 hours. Few expect this vote to go into a second round, which means President Talon will likely secure a second 5-year mandate that could strengthen his grip on power. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Cotonou.
Polls have closed in Chad's presidential election. President Idris Deby is seeking a 6th term to extend his 30-year rule. It is the first election since Parliament approved legislation to expand his powers. The opposition called for a boycott of the polls in protest. Al Jazeera's Hiba Morgan reports from Gemina.
He's led the country for more than 30 years, and now, seeking a 6th term, incumbent Idris Deby cast his vote in Chad's presidential election, urging other Chadians in the capital and around the country to do the same.
I have come here today as a citizen to vote and have done my duty. Now it's your turn, the people of Chad, to exercise your right to vote. Wherever you are, come and vote for the candidate of your choice.
Hundreds were waiting to vote at the same center where Deby appeared. 23-year-old Amina Ahmed, a first-time voter, was one of the first in the queue.
I've come to exercise democracy and also to see the president. Marshal Deby is the one I think will be able to lead the country forward and bring it stability and improve the economy. He's the only one I see in the field.
7.3 million people have registered to vote in this election, according to the National Electoral Commission. Many voters we've spoken to on Sunday and in the days leading up to the election say their biggest concern is Chad's stability and security. After a civil war in the east and recent counter-terrorism operations in the north and west, many tell us they believe President Deby, who's running against 5 other candidates, can tackle those issues. The candidates need at least 52% of the vote to win. The results will be out in 2 weeks. The opposition and their supporters say they are boycotting the elections. 6 prominent figures who sought to run for president were rejected by the High Court. 2 accused the ruling party of militarizing the campaign, a charge echoed by right groups who say security forces have used ruthless force against protesters and opposition leaders.
We don't think there is transparency, there is liberty, freedom. So that's why we can't accept this election, and we call people to boycott it until the end of this theater.
Election observers appear to have a different view.
Chad's role is important in the region, especially in Lake Chad and the Sahel-Saharan region. So preserving its stability is the role of the African countries and the region and the people of the country.
Whatever the outcome of this election, the gap between Debbie's ruling party and the opposition is clear. How the two sides move on from here will almost certainly set the stage for the country's political future. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, N'Djamena, Chad.
Police have fired tear gas at protesters angry over the shooting of a black man not far from where George Floyd was killed in May. On Sunday, police officers sought 20-year-old Don't Wright just north of Minneapolis, where a trial of a former police officer accused of killing Floyd is taking place. Derek Chauvin trials restart in a few hours. Al Jazeera's Sarah Hirat reports.
Protests on the streets near Minneapolis in anger once again aimed at the police force, prompted by the death of yet another black man, this time 20-year-old Dante Wright. Police in Brooklyn Center, a suburb of Minneapolis, say officers pulled over a man just before 2 p.m. on Sunday and discovered he had an outstanding arrest warrant. As they tried to detain him, he got back in the car. One officer shot Dante Wright, who then drove away but hit another vehicle. He was declared dead at the scene.
One officer had fired a weapon, striking the driver. The vehicle continued and eventually crashed, and medical resources were then deployed to the scene to aid the people in both the vehicle that was crashed into and the original group. The driver of the vehicle was deceased.
His mother was on the phone with him when it all happened. She said they pulled him over for having air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror, an illegal offense in Minnesota.
I heard scuffling and I heard the police officer say, "Dante, don't run." And then the other officer said, "Put the phone down," and hung it up. And then a minute later, I called and his girlfriend answered, which was the passenger in the car, and said that he'd been shot, and she put it on the driver's side, and my son was laying there lifeless.
People are on edge here, as all this happened just 16 kilometers away from where George Floyd was killed in May last year. Former police officer Derek Chauvin is currently on trial after he was filmed kneeling on Lloyd's neck for more than 9 minutes during the arrest. The video sparked global protests against police brutality and racism in the United States.
Too many drugs.
Chauvin is charged with murder and manslaughter. His trial is in its third week in a courthouse surrounded with tight security. The Minnesota National Guard troops deployed for the trial have now been sent to Brooklyn Center. There are local reports of some protesters destroying and looting local businesses. Anti-police protesters had already been rallying since the trial started.
Who knows if there's going to be a difference in this world? Who knows if it's going to be the last time that we all come together in something like this?
So we're just peacefully protesting. We're not going to keep taking police killing black people for no reason, traffic stops, mental health problems. So this is just the way that we've learned to stand in solidarity and show that we're not going to, we're standing for a cause.
The governor of Minnesota says the state is mourning another life of a black man taken away by law enforcement. Sarah Khairat, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's now speak to our correspondent, John Hendren, who is in Minneapolis for us. John, we've already seen just how tense this community is, and that's really not going away.
That's right. It's a hauntingly familiar scene here, and the protesters didn't have far to go because they were already here in town waiting for the beginning of week 3 of the Derek Chauvin murder trial in the case of Chauvin allegedly killing George Floyd. So police ended up having to deploy tear gas after hundreds of demonstrators came up on a police station in a tactic that has become familiar since last summer here in Minneapolis. They were in Brooklyn Park. That's about 16 kilometers away, and it is within the sphere of the riots and looting that happened after the May 25th killing of George Floyd. And Last night, that looting extended overnight here into Minneapolis. We're told that in Brooklyn Park itself, there were about 20 buildings that were targeted. And so you had National Guard troops from here in Minneapolis sent out there. And we're also told there will be more National Guard troops coming into the city. So this incident could not really have happened at a worse time. But of course, the protesters are here preparing for the Chauvin case. What happens after this incident, we will see in the coming days.
And John, as you mentioned there, it is day 11 of the Chauvin trial today. People will clearly be watching more closely than ever.
That's right. We are expecting the prosecution to wrap its case either today or tomorrow. We're expecting a doctor, possibly another pulmonologist, that is a lung expert. And then we are expecting what they call a spark of life testimony. That's something they do here in Minnesota, where a member of the family talks about the impact on the family and who the person was who died. That's the kind of thing we normally hear in the closing arguments of a trial, and I'm sure we'll hear them there as well. The witness impact statements that come often before sentencing. Here, they're going to do it today. That will be the emotional close we expect of the prosecution's case. And then the defense is going to have to come out, and they've got a lot of work to do because expert after expert has testified that George Floyd died of asphyxiation, that he died with Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck, and police officers, including the chief of police here who fired Derek Chauvin after that event, said that those techniques were not approved. So we're expecting some exciting testimony in the coming days. We're told that the close is likely on the defense side to take 2-3 days or so instead of the 2 weeks or so that we've seen with the prosecution. That is typical. It's not a matter of who has more witnesses. It's a matter of what the witnesses have to say.
John Hendren following all of that for us there in Minneapolis. We'll be speaking to him later as well. Thanks so much, John.
And before we end the news, a quick recap of our main headlines. GIG widens scope of probe in Gunjur seaside post-assault. Newsroom discussed curriculum reforms as part of Golden Jubilee. Former Bruford Alcalo dies, age 100. 189 elevated security personnel decorated. Help Gambia partners with BAC orders to wage placed ungarbaged. In other news, Benin vote count begins after opposition groups boycott elections. Polls close in controversial Chad election. Protests erupt in Minneapolis after police shoot black man. That's all for this edition of the news. Do enjoy the rest of our wonderful programs. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thanks for watching. On behalf of Star TV and I, we want to wish all Muslims inside the country and abroad a happy Ramadan Mubarak.